मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरु वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपां साग्रजातं सगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेमाप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna everyone, welcome to the Sunday morning Bhagavad Gita session. Today we are discussing chapter number 12. How many of you were here last Sunday, discussing chapter 11? How many of you saw the match yesterday? Honest, one honest man, two honest people. बाकी सब छुपे रुस्तम. किसी ने मैच नहीं देखा कल? हाइलाइट्स भी काउंटेड है, cricinfo.com भी काउंटेड है. In 2011, that India-Sri Lanka final was there. Like the worst way to start a Bhagavad Gita class. We're talking about a cricket World Cup. But I'm getting to a point. So, India-Sri Lanka final was there in Mankade Stadium, World Cup final. And that was also on a Saturday evening. And we had that time I was on this side. I was like all of you. I was how old? 2025. 25, 20, 24. So, the youth class was kept on that day. And so it was like, usually 80, 90 boys used to come. Sundar Chaitanya Prabhu used to give that class. And that day only 20 came. And he's also wondering, I don't know what I said previous class, कुछ ऐसे गड़बड़ बोल दिया, कुछ heavy बोल दिया, कोई है नहीं, सब भाग गए, क्या हो गया? And then, he was told, Prabhu, आज actually World Cup final है. So then he looked around and he said, okay, good. At least I know who are the sincere people, coming for the program. So that day, I was relatively new devotee, 4 years coming for the program. So I just had that goal. I'm not going to space out and watch the match. I'm not even going to try and cover the match. I'm not even going to try and keep a track of score. It's all useless. It's just, what is it? It's a piece of stick and it's a leather ball and crazy people running 22 yards and 50,000 even crazier people paying for that and cheering. And I used to be like one of those 50,000 people for like 10 years before that. Once on a vacation, we went to West Indies. So nice beaches and this, that. And during that vacation, one day there was a match in Barbados, India tour of West Indies. This is 2002. And we were there in West Indies for 3-4 days. There were so many things to do. And like a fool, I नहीं 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 cricket match है मैं जाऊंगा देखूंगा. That crazy about cricket. That day I thought, no chance. I'm not going to see. Let India lose, win. I don't care. Goal of life is to serve Krishna. You're not the body or the soul. You're not an Indian. It's a waste of time and devotional service ki jai. And then before the class, I went to a Xerox shop. कुछ notes print कराना था. वहाँ पे गया. लाउड स्पीकर पे ट्रांजिस्टर बज रहा है और ये इसने छक्का मारा है और श्रीलंका का ये हो गया और जहीर खान ने ये किया. चल जल्दी से जेरोक्स दे निकल. जेरोक्स दिया, बैठा रिक्शा में, रिक्शा वाला चला रहा है और उसका ध्यान उसका ट्रांजिस्टर बज रहा है. सो वो रिक्शा राइड एंड आई एम थिंकिंग यार जल्दी हो जाए रिक्शा. रोड सब खाली. इट वाज लाइक lockdown. That time lockdown you didn't have an experience, but now if you think back, it was like that. Yesterday, it usually takes 2 hours to come back from Bhiwandi. Yesterday, we flew and came back because everyone was busy watching two crazy people run between wickets and 1 lakh crazy people in the stadium and probably 1 billion crazy people with 2 honest men here also part of that. So, it's even if you want to try, it's difficult to avoid. Right? That's how a city life is. Yesterday we were talking to a group of students like this in Kalyan, and we were discussing second chapter. How many of you have been here since the second chapter has been discussed? Good. So in that second chapter, there is this verse: Dhyayato vishayam pumsam sangaste supujayate sangat sanjayate kamat kamat krodho vijayate. That krodh का क्या मतलब है? Anger. Kam, lust. So Krishna is saying, sangat sanjayate kamat. Over attachment to something leads to lust, and lust leads to anger. But how does over attachment come? Krishna says, Dhyayato vishayam pumsam. By contemplation on some particular thing. एक चीज के बारे में बार बार सोचते रहेंगे, ये कितना अच्छा है, वो कितना अच्छा है, this thing I should have, if only I get this position, if only I get this, that. After thinking of something so much, one thing, you will get attached to it, to want it. We were discussing. So, Prabhupada in the purport was saying, therefore we should try and refrain from sense objects and focus more on devotional service. So one boy raised his hand and said, Ki Prabhu, I agree to everything. And when I go out to college every day in the morning, I put my earphones. उसमें या तो कीर्तन चलता है या तो क्लास चलता है और मैं जाता हूँ. But every now and then, I just look here and look there and some billboard will be there or some person will be indecently dressed and my mind gets corrupted, not attracted. My mind gets disturbed. इसका क्या करें? I was also saying, इसका क्या कर सकते हैं? Certain things you can't avoid. You cannot avoid. Therefore, what you have to do is, you have to become stronger. Like during COVID, those who had stronger immunity, COVID people could not avoid. That virus spread so fast, it was in the air, it was spreading like, wildfire. But those people who had very weak immunity were more susceptible. That's why they were saying, the elders को, बच्चों को घर में रखो, जो लोग को autoimmune diseases हमको घर पे रखो. So those who have good immunity, you can at least have a better chance. So similarly, to avoid these distractions for a devotee, therefore we should have spiritual immunity. That means you should have strong spiritual sadhana every day. And then even if you come across something like this, you will just laugh at it and think, see, this is how the material world is. So a lot of the World Cup is yet to happen. So don't get distracted by it. World Cup will come, World Cup will go. Something else will come, something else will go. These people who we cheer for will retire one day. One day they'll die. One day we'll also die. It will just go on. It will go on. In the 80s, our parents used to cheer for somebody else who's probably very old now. When I used to follow cricket, I used to cheer for somebody who's now retired. Now somebody else is there. They'll also. Same thing with any sport. Same thing with any, attraction that you have to movies or things like that. they'll all come and go. It's, if you look at it from the point of view of one day of Lord Brahma, these guys are not even occupying a millisecond. For the demigods, what to speak of for Lord Krishna, these guys are insignificant. Their life has absolutely no value. Whereas a simple devotee, जिसका नाम उसके पूरे, सपोज को 80 साल तक जीता है, उसके पूरे 80 साल के जीवन में 50 लोगों से ज्यादा को पता भी नहीं होगा कि ऐसा कोई व्यक्ति एग्जिस्ट करता है, बट ही इज अ नाइस डिवोटी. That life for the Lord and even for these demigods is considered more valuable than all these guys who are very rich or very famous or very popular, because this guy got it right. When I say this guy got it right, उसका क्या मतलब है? Purpose of human life. The purpose of human life is not to entertain yourself. The purpose of human life is not to get very wealthy and very comfortable. वो सब आया as a byproduct, fine. We'll use it and we'll use it in Krishna's service also. But the purpose of human life is to develop my relationship with Krishna and make that strong. And then whatever karma comes, Krishna will sanction. That will come anyway. It will come. Whether you run after it or you don't run after it, it will come. There are some devotees who are billionaires. There are some devotees who are popular. There are some devotees who become brahmacharis and become popular celebrities on the internet. वो आना है तो वो आएगा. But they chose a path of devotional service and then they became famous through that. Like for example, Amol Leela Prabhu or Gaur Gopal Prabhu. Had they not become devotees, they probably would have done something and achieved the same level of fame that they have now. So it's not that हम भक्त बन गए तो ये जो आने वाला था वो नहीं आएगा. अरे प्रभु आप बोल रहे हैं ये सब छोड़ो, भक्त बनो, मेरा तो प्लान है जीमैट करने का, एमबीए करने का. मेरा मैं आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट माई सेल्फ 15 years back. I used to think and talk like this. I had full plans to do a GMAT and my education was fully sponsored because I had Krishna's mercy, I had rich family, rich relatives. तो अरे पर आप तो बोल रहे हैं ये सब छोड़ो, कैसे होगा? Don't you think if I get into these top 10 companies and Fortune 500 companies and all, won't I be able to do much more even for you all? People think like that. अरे मैं बिजनेस बड़ा कर दूंगा और फिर देखो मैं तिलक लगा के बिजनेस करूंगा और देखो कितना प्रीचिंग होएगा. अभी आप मेरे को वो पैम्फलेट पकड़ा देते हो, बोलते हो गिफ्ट शॉप के बाहर खड़े रह के बांटो. क्या उससे क्या हुआ प्रभु? मैं जब बिजनेसमैन बन जाऊंगा तो क्या नहीं कर सकता हूँ आप लोगों के लिए, लाइन लगा दूंगा लोगों की. Think like that. If you are meant to be an influencer, you will still be an influencer. You will be far greater as a devotee. If you're a devotee influencer. If you're destined to have fame, you will still get it. But if you get it as a devotee, you chose the right path. If you're destined to have a lot of money, you will still get it. We have devotees like Alfred Ford, Amrish Prabhu, who gave the seed donation of 100 crores to build the foundation of TOBP. TOBP का foundation बनाने में 100 crore लगा. He gave it. Then we have here our Rishikesh Mafatlal, owner of this Mafatlal group. You heard Mafatlal group? Most of your cloth would have been sourced from there. He's an initial devotee, crorepati. So that has to come, it will come. If fame has to come, it will come. But if you, so that's anyway going to come. But if you choose devotional service, throughout that fame, wealth, influence, you will be happy. Not just that, you will do the highest good, which is you will attract others to devotional service. And ultimately, the Lord will see, हाँ देख इसने ये सब तो उसके कर्मा में था, but कैसे उसने choose किया अपना कर्मा लाना? Devotional service के through. He made some good decisions in his life when he was young. When he was in his 20s, he made some foundational decisions. In your 20s, you make foundational decisions. The decisions that can set the path for the rest of your life. 25 से 30 के उम्र में जो decisions हम लेते हैं, या चलो 25, हाँ mainly 25 से 30, those are foundational decisions. फिर उसको reverse करना बहुत कठिन होता है बाद में. So this is the time in your life where if you can make these nice decisions and you can, it's use your life in Krishna service, don't worry, whatever else karma has to come, it will anyway come. अभी तो हम पॉजिटिव कर्मा के बारे में फोकस कर रहे हैं, नेगेटिव कर्मा भी तो आने ही वाला है ना. So at that time, if you are in devotional service, A, Krishna can minimize it, and B, even if it comes, because you are nicely engaged in devotional service, you will consider it tolerable. Devotees will help. You're understanding what I'm saying? All other things are autopilot. वो already destined हो गया है, वो आने वाला है. But this choice is in your hand. What decision should I take so that the rest of my life can nicely be engaged in Krishna service? Okay, tell me what you remember from chapter 11. क्या हुआ chapter 11 में? Yes. Krishna showed his Virat Roop. What is the Virat Roop? So Virat Roop is basically everything. हमको साइंस में सिखाया ना सोलर सिस्टम. कितने प्लैनेट है अभी? 8 हो गए. अभी 9, 8 वो चेंज होता है, कभी 10 भी था बीच में. दैट्स मॉडर्न साइंस. प्लैनेट को कैसे कम ज्यादा कर सकते हो यार, वो तो इतना बड़ा चीज है. वो थोड़ी, इट्स नॉट लाइक बकेट ऑफ गुलाब जामुन दे दो प्रभु, 2 कम हो गए, कहाँ गए. ऐसे तो ही बोल सकते हैं प्रभु एक बिल्डिंग कम हो गया. अरे बिल्डिंग कैसे कम हो गया? बिल्डिंग तो एक बहुत टैंजिबल ऑब्जेक्ट है, कैसे कम हो गया? प्लैनेट, पूरा प्लैनेट गायब. मैं जब भी स्कूल में था तो 9 प्लैनेट थे, प्लूटो प्लैनेट था. मैं जब भी कॉलेज में था तो प्लूटो प्लैनेट नहीं था. जब मैं जॉब शुरू किया तो प्लूटो के साथ एक और कोई आ गया था प्लैनेट, और अभी वापस शायद से 8 हो गया. दिस इज मॉडर्न साइंस. सो ये एक सोलर सिस्टम में हम सीखते हैं, ऐसे मल्टीपल सोलर सिस्टम्स हैं ये एक यूनिवर्स में. एंड अवर शास्त्र सेज लाइक दिस, देयर आर मल्टीपल यूनिवर्सेस and all of this is in the material world, and all of this emanates from Krishna. So Virat Roop, Vishwaroop, one other name of Virat Roop is Vishwaroop. Vishwa, everything is emanating from Krishna. What else? Anyone else remember something? Yes.
Prabhu gave the acronym for the 11th chapter, which was Rupa, in which R stands for request of Arjuna, and then based on that request, Krishna showed universal form, and P stands for prayers of Arjuna. Then after Krishna showed the universal form, then he offered prayers, and then ultimately in the end he got feared by looking at the Virat Roop, and then he requested to again show his armed form.
Armed form, two armed form. Okay, very very interesting. Rupa. So I will note it down. I understand. Request, universal form, prayer, and two armed form. This summarizes the 11th chapter. Arjuna, now tell me, why did Arjuna request Krishna to show the Virat Roop? Raise your hands. Yes. For how will that help? Okay, so showing of the Virat Roop will attract people, in create a fear. Acha. Fear of what? You're right. I'm just probing further. Fear of what? Fear that, oh, everything is in Krishna, so I better worship him. Okay, fair enough. Yes?
So if someone questions that, is your God really a God? Then we can prove to them, or the devotees can prove to them that, yeah, he is really the God, because everything emanates from him.
Okay, good. So to show and give a definition that if you claim to be God, then you need to show this. Yes, that one. Yeah. Okay. So this is the main reason that Arjuna knew that later on there will be people who will come and they will claim to be God. So anyone who claims to be God, they need to show universal form. They need to show the Virat Roop, the Vishwa Roop. Right? So, but then what happened after Arjuna requested that, and then Krishna showed him everything? You go home, you can read the verses. everything conceivable, all demigods, all planets, all rivers, death, everything. People are going into his mouth, coming out of his mouth, ghastly things, happy things, everything is in the Virat Roop. So he sees that. And then Arjuna starts to pray. Now, what is he praying? Who can tell me? Raise your hand. Yes.
So Arjuna बहुत डर गए थे
Hmm.
प्रे करने लगे कि मतलब इस मुझे मतलब मैंने आपके साथ बचपन में खेला मैंने आपका
Hmm.
डिसऑर्डर भी किया
Hmm.
तो बहुत डरने लगे
Hmm.
कि बस उन्होंने अपना मतलब प्रे का मुझे अपना
Very good. तो अर्जुना ने प्रे किया. Arjuna praying to Krishna that, अरे, I thought you are my friend. You know, we sat together, and right now also you are engaged as my chariot driver. This is Gita is just on the chariot. Krishna is talking, and my God, I didn't know that you're God. I didn't know you're God. And so please forgive me. Jokingly, I told you something. Jokingly, sometimes I just made fun of you, or jokingly I must have disrespected you. So please forgive me. In that purport, Prabhupada writes that a genuine devotee will always think like this: that please forgive me. I have made so many mistakes. Please forgive me. So Arjuna is thinking, and then Arjuna then prayed that please show me your original two-handed form. Why did Arjuna want to see that? Raise your hands. Yes.
because for a devotee a two-handed form is so basic
How? Why? You are right. But can you elaborate why?
two-handed form looks
Okay. Two-handed form looks like us. So does the Lord look like us, or we look like the Lord? We look like the Lord. Yeah. No, good. And why else is it pleasing? He said two-handed form is pleasing to the devotees. Why? Yes.
Vishnu is a godless form is what Srila Prabhupada says in a Bhagavad.
Uh,
And two-handed form is the supreme and see godliness that you see that.
So I'll just correct you. It's not that Virat Roop is godless form. Virat Roop is a material form. It's not an eternal form. So Virat Roop करके कोई spiritual world में नहीं है, right? Virat Roop is basically the material world. Everything that is in Virat Roop, there is Golok Vrindavan is not in the Virat Roop. Vaikuntha is not in the Virat Roop. Lord Ram is not in the Virat Roop. That Lord Ram in Ayodhya, all those things are not in the Virat Roop. Virat Roop is everything in the material world. And therefore, because it is everything in the material world, when the material world gets dissolved and goes back to Vishnu, so that form, the universe goes back also within Vishnu. And then when it gets re-established, then it is there. And then whenever Krishna comes and he wants to show, he shows that form. So therefore, it is temporary. It is there till the material world is there. But as you said, the two-handed form is the original form of Krishna. It is the eternal form. There is a concept called Paribhasya Sutra. Paribhasya Sutra means a verse which summarizes an entire scripture. A verse which summarizes the entire scripture. Like you can say in Bhagavad Gita, what would be the verse that you can think of two verses that summarize the entire Gita? Man mana bhava mad bhakto and sarva dharman. You can consider that. So similarly in Bhagavatam, the Acharyas, the Goswami say that the Paribhasya Sutra, the verse by which every other verse of the Bhagavatam can be compared. The principle under which each and every of the 18,000 verses of Bhagavatam will fit. That verse of the Bhagavatam, the Paribhasya Sutra of Bhagavatam is Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. That there are so many incarnations, and there are incarnations, Kala and Amsha, incarnations of incarnations, manifestations. But Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original supreme personality of God. And whenever the word Krishna is used, that means that two-handed Shamsundar form. And so therefore Arjuna is, and so for a devotee, now what we are going to discuss today, the entire discussion of today is based on this principle. For a devotee, he can reciprocate the highest with the personal form of the Lord. Like Prabhupada once, while he was discussing this universal form, he told one of his disciples, "You imagine how merciful Krishna is. That his original form is not like the Virat Roop. Had his original form been like the Virat Roop, how would you even have offered bhoga? क्योंकि वो टोनेल से ज्यादा कुछ दिखता भी नहीं, वो इतना विराट रूप है. उसको घर में लाके डीटी वर्शिप कैसे करते हैं? मंदिर बनाने सोचो कितना धन लगता, इतना ह्यूज डोम बनाना पड़ता, बुर्ज खलीफा से भी बड़ा शिखर होता. So Krishna is so kind that his original form is something that is so accessible to the devotees and to devotional service. And not just that, he is even more merciful that he comes in the Archa Vigraha form, where you can have 8-inch, 10-inch deities who you can even worship at home. And Krishna reciprocates with that. So therefore Arjuna is praying. The A. He's praying, please show your two-armed form here. Okay, so this is chapter 11. And now, on the pretext of this, after such a discussion and such a conversation, now Arjuna asks Krishna something in chapter number 12. The link with chapter 12, 11 we just discussed. Chapter 12, verse 1, repeat. Arjuna Vacha Evam Satata Yuktaye Evam Satata Yuktaye Bhaktastvām paryupasate Bhaktastvām paryupasate Ye chapakṣaram avyaktam Ye chapyaksharam avyaktam Tesham ke yoga vittamam Tesham ke yoga vittamam. Someone like to repeat? Arjuna Vacha Evam Satata Yuktaye Bhaktas Tvam Paryupasate Ye Chapyaksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittama. One more.
Arjuna Vacha
Arjuna Vacha Evam Satata Yuktaye
Bhaktasvam paryupasate
Ye Chapyaksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittama. See, whenever, like the third line, no? Whenever there is a Y and then next starts with an A, no, you have to read it together. So it's not Ye Chapi, it's Ye Chapyaksharam. You have to combine those two words. If you read the Sanskrit, you will read it like that. So just translation is Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? So after seeing this Virat Roop and then having the realization that this is the Lord, but my original Lord, the two-handed Sham Sundar form, is what actually is the most pleasing to me, and calling Krishna to basically praying to Krishna to come back in the original form. Now Arjuna is having a doubt. ठीक है, वो पर्पस फुलफिल हो गया, ये विराट रूप दिखा दिया, no one else can claim to be God, people are still claiming to be God, and dumb fools are accepting them also as God because they don't read Bhagavad Gita. If people read Bhagavad, that's why we emphasize so much book distribution. Prabhupada emphasized so much book distribution. Now December month is going to come. After Kartik, we will all be engaged in book distribution. So wherein we will be distributing Bhagavad Gitas so that people can open and say, अरे जिसको मैं 20 साल से भगवान मानता हूँ वो तो भगवान है ही नहीं. That realization will come. So Arjuna is having this doubt. He's saying, who is better? ठीक है, आपका तो ये form है, original form. According to you, for all of us as devotees, which path is better? Worshipping the impersonal form or the personal form? Maybe a wrong class, yeah. Someone read what Prabhupada is saying?
Generally, the transcendentalists can be divided into two classes. One is the impersonalist and the other is the personalist. The impersonalist devotee engages himself with all energy in the service of the Supreme Lord. The impersonalist also engages himself not directly in the service of Krishna but in meditation of the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested.
Prabhupada is saying there are two classes of transcendental. Now we are not talking about material people. We are not talking about karmis. There are two classes of transcendentalists. People who have accepted that the goal of life is not just to try and be happy here. And we are not body, we are the soul. We're talking about those people. Arjuna is asking, इन लोगों में कौन आपके हिसाब से ज़्यादा बेहतर है? Prabhupada is saying, the personalist devotee always engages in devotional service using his energy, whereas the impersonalist is, what's the difference between a personalist and impersonalist according to what Prabhupada is mentioning here?
Personalist is direct service to the Lord, and impersonalist is indirect service to the Lord.
ठीक है? Who is an impersonalist?
The one
Yogis.
The one who worship unmanifested form.
Unmanifested form क्या होता है? चलो बताओ, manifested form क्या होता है?
the one that we see every day.
Manifestation का मतलब जो सामने दिखता है,
Yeah,
जिसके लिए ऑस्टेरिटी करने की जरूरत नहीं है, राइट? जो दिखता है, जो दिखता है वो बिकता है, that we have that thing. So manifested, जो मैं देख सकता हूँ, I can see with my two eyes, that's the manifested form of the Lord. Unmanifested means formless, Brahma Jyoti, right? We have seen the light. Most people who are quote unquote religious or spiritualists in India consider that ultimately Bhagwan में लीन होना है. God is formless, right?
yes.
But if God were formless, after seeing the Virat Roop, wouldn't Arjuna say, come back to your original formless form? Formless form. Come back to your original formlessness. He wanted to see Krishna, please come back to your original form. अगर original form formless होता तो होता ना, कृष्णा अभी बस बहुत हो गया, अभी आपका ओरिजिनल रूप दिखाओ. नो रूप. No, but Arjuna, who is an associate of the Lord, personal associate, he's saying, please, original form. And original form became which form? The form of Krishna. Right? So, therefore, the impersonal Brahma Jyoti is a manifestation of Krishna's original form. The light that emanates from the body of the Lord is called as Brahma Jyoti. That is Brahma Jyoti. And so there is a school of thought led by Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya, who propagated this knowledge that God is formless. And the goal of life is to merge into the formless, become formless, and therefore become God. I am God, you are God, we all are God. The problem is we have forgotten it now. And therefore we are in illusion. Getting out of illusion and coming back to the original form means understanding that we are all, no, we are God. ऐसे मायावादी लोग बोलते हैं. अभी ये क्लिप को अगर कट करके डाल दिया इंटरनेट पे तो कितना मिसयूज हो सकता है कि अरे इस्कॉन में ऐसे बोलते हैं. बट दिस इज व्हाट दे से. हम सब भूल गए हैं. सोहम दैट सोहम मीन्स पता नहीं, हम वो रविशंकर बोलता है सोहम, हम भी सोहम करते रहते हैं. हम क्या फर्क पड़ता है? वो ब्रीदिंग अच्छा करना था कि मैं आई कैन एंजॉय माई लाइफ. हम कुछ पूछते नहीं है, ये सब करते हैं बस. फिर विराट कोहली कुछ और करने लगे, हम वो भी करेंगे. सलमान भाई कुछ और करेगा, हम वो भी करेंगे. हम सब करते हैं. सनातन धर्म मीन्स ओपन टू एवरीवन. कभी दरगाह में भी चले जाएंगे, कभी चर्च में भी, हम सब करते हैं. ये हमारा हाल है. सोहम मीन्स आई एम गॉड. मैंने भी 2 साल आर्ट ऑफ लिविंग किया था, फ्रॉम एज ऑफ 18 to 20. सोहम. But I used to ask them questions and they used to get irritated with me. I used to ask questions and then finally that irritated me with them. क्या है ये book में सब vague चीजें लिखी है. And thankfully, I got a book, Laws of Nature. So, Soham. And then devotees say, add Das. Dasoham. I am his Das. And then the Mayavadi will say, Sada Soham. I am always God. And then devotee will say, I am the servant of the devotee. So this is the wrong conception that we are all God. Prabhupada refutes that by saying, if everyone is God, if you are God, one of the definition of God is someone who has all knowledge. 100% fame, beauty, wealth, renunciation, power and knowledge. Full in knowledge. Aishwaryasya, samarasya, virarasya, yasasya, jnana, vairagya. So, like that it is. Full knowledge. So, full knowledge means never will you be forgetful. So, if you are God, then you are always supposed to remember that you are God. How did you forget? How are you in illusion? How are you in the material world? And Prabhupada से राम जी के रामायण में या कृष्णा के भागवतम में कहीं लिखा है क्या कि उनको सिर दर्द हो रहा था, दांत दुख रहा था, बूढ़े हो गए? नहीं. पर आप ऐसे कैसे गॉड हो कि आपको डेंटिस्ट के पास जाना पड़ता है, आपको कोविड हो जाता है, आप बाथरूम में मर जाते हो. One god died in the bathroom 10 years back. His temp. This is going to go online. Forget it. Don't have love with a love temple in Vrindavan. Don't go to a love temple in Vrindavan. There's a love temple in Vrindavan.
Yeah.
Very famous. Everyone goes there. He died in the bathroom. Half of them don't know what I'm saying. They have no clue of what is going on. Fine. No problem. So Prabhupada said, if you are God, how can you forget? So then the question is that why did Shankaracharya, now who's Shankaracharya? Incarnation of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva. Why did he come and give this wrong theory? Ki you can all be God and the goal of life is to come out of the bodily concept and merge and become one with God. Who will say? Yes. Hmm. 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 Nothingness. Yeah. So then why did Lord Buddha do that? In the name of Vedas. Right? So as Kali Yuga started, Kali Yuga means the age of, तो पता है, age of quarrel, the age of hypocrisy, degradation होता है. हम देख सकते हैं हमारे, most of you would have at least lived 20 years in this body. You would have seen even like 10 years back and now the world has degraded. So many wars are happening now. It's such a fickle situation in the world right now. Any time a world war can happen. ऐसी परिस्थिति हो गई है. Everything deteriorates. So after Krishna left and after all his associates left and Kali's influence increased, the Brahmanas got corrupted. Their intelligence got corrupted. And there are some sections in the Vedas which allow killing of animals for eating purpose. But those sections are meant for certain low class people, and by low class we don't mean by birth, but by activities. उनके activities इतने low है कि वो शास्त्र समझ ही नहीं पाएंगे. But still somehow you have to attract them to scripture. So therefore scripture would give this छूट मिलती थी कि अमावस्या के दिन ये you have to yourself catch an animal, yourself slaughter an animal, and you have to chant a mantra, and that mantra basically means in this life I am killing you, I am giving you the chance in a future life to kill me. And उसके बाद 3/4 of that meat you have to distribute with similar low class people like you, and 1/4 portion you can eat once in 15 days. Not go to Venky's and buy frozen chicken. नॉट ऑनलाइन अमेजोन से वो पूरा साफ सुथरा करके आता है, इतना अच्छा स्मेल करता है, आप उसको फ्राई करके खाओ। नहीं, आपको खून दिखना चाहिए, आपको पंख दिखने चाहिए, आपको उसकी चीख सुनाई देनी चाहिए, और उसके साथ आप ये मंत्र बोलते हो, इसका मतलब मेरा गला भी कटेगा, तेरे हाथ से ही कटेगा एक दिन, और उसके बाद इतना मेहनत करके 3/4 बांटते हो और फिर खाओगे। 2 बार 4 बार 6 बार ऐसे करने के बाद थोड़ा भी बुद्धि है तो कोई व्यक्ति क्या सोचेगा? व्हाट द पर्सन थिंक? एक तो है कि बहुत टाइम लगेगा, आलसी व्यक्ति ऐसे सोचेगा, अरे यार क्या टाइम लगेगा, मैं भी भीख मांगता दूसरों के लिए, मैं मिल जाएगा मेरे को उसका फ्री माल, जब तक वेंकीज नहीं आता है। थोड़ा ज्यादा बुद्धि होगा उससे तो क्या सोचेगा कोई?
This is not the right thing to do.
व्हाट एम आई डूइंग? थोड़ा 2 रोटी के साथ खाने के लिए इतना कष्ट। एंड व्हाट इज द मेन कष्ट? व्हाट इज द मेन डिफिकल्टी? In a future life I am going to be killed. That means a future life will also be there in which I'll be killed. और अगले अमावस्या में एक और आएगा मेरे को मारने के लिए, अब उसके बाद वाले लाइफ में, और ऐसे हर अमावस्या में मैं अपना एक डेथ सर्टेन कर रहा हूँ। क्यों करना है? That is the reason. But when these brahmanas got corrupted, they started showing that अरे लिखा है कोई भी कभी भी कर सकता है, करो। And so then on the basis of scripture this was being followed. So then Lord Buddha had to come. Krishna came as Buddha to eradicate this. So he said, Shastra ko maro goli. Because that was needed at that time. Everyone was saying, Shastra में लिखा है. सोचो आप पहले टाइम पे पाप भी होता था कुछ अथॉरिटी दिखा के. Prabhupada says, no, even when Prabhupada was young, alcohol shops and meat shops used to be in the periphery of the city. They used to be open only at night. And people चुप चुप के जाते थे वहां से परचेज करके आते थे. अभी नहीं, where you have liquor malls and it's celebrated and celebrities are posing in advertisements for these things. It's cool to drink or to smoke or to eat meat. Not like that. Earlier it was like that. So on the basis of ठीक है शास्त्र बोल रहा है मतलब कर सकते हैं ऐसे था. तो reject शास्त्र, Lord Buddha came, and then now again Shastra has to be re-established, otherwise there is no hope for anyone. So Lord Shiva was sent as Shankaracharya. Now to bridge the gap between nothingness and there is a God, you had to find a middle path. There is a God, but he has no form. So people can digest. No form, pura no form nahi, no form, but that no form is God. Impersonal. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to again re-establish everything through the chanting of the holy name. There is a personal aspect. So this is what Arjuna is asking. This is impersonal. Now you all understood? This is impersonal, and personal means the form of the Lord. जिससे वो impersonal आता है. People say Nirakar. Bhagwan is Nirakar, Nirgun. Nirakar means? Nirgun means? No qualities. Prabhupada said that means no material form and no material qualities. Nirakar means no form like our form, made of earth, water, fire, air, ether. No qualities means no qualities like we have, governed by the 3 gunas, the modes of nature. Not those qualities. Spiritual qualities and spiritual form. Like when Krishna wound up his pastimes, did he leave a material body behind? When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Lord Ram wound up their pastimes, was there any form left behind? That means that that form was full spirit. Their body is Sachidananda, full spirit. And so they go back. So Arjuna is clarifying this. वो लोग जो आपके निराकार फॉर्मलेस को वर्शिप करते हैं या वो लोग जो आपके फॉर्म को वर्शिप करते हैं, who are better? Now in the purport of this first verse, Prabhupada analyzes the entire Bhagavad Gita up till now and shows how in every chapter this conclusion is given that the form of the Lord is better than formlessness. Prabhupada says in chapter 2, the Supreme Lord explained, these are all lines from the purport. Prabhupada is saying, the Supreme Lord explained that a living entity is not the material body, he is a spiritual spark. And the absolute truth is the spiritual whole. So, living entity and Supreme Lord being the absolute truth. Chapter 6, the Lord clearly says that of all yogis, one who always thinks of Krishna within himself is considered the most perfect. Krishna means form. Chapter 7, he spoke of the living entity as being part and parcel of the Supreme Whole and recommended that he transfer his attention fully to the whole. That means we are part and parcel of God, we are not God. And we are supposed to divert our attention towards God and serve Him. Chapter 8, Prabhupada says, it was said that anyone who thinks of Krishna at the time of quitting his body is at once transferred to the spiritual sky, to the abode of Krishna. So the fact that Krishna is himself saying, think of me, that means think of my form, think of me as Krishna, the person in front of you, not as just light. And Prabhupada concludes in this purport. So, in practically every chapter, the conclusion has been that one should be attached to the personal form of Krishna, for that is the highest spiritual realization. Prabhupada also says, Arjuna experienced in the 11th chapter that to be attached to the personal form of Krishna is the best because he could thus understand all other forms at the same time and there was no disturbance to his love for Krishna. This important question asked of Krishna by Arjuna will clarify the distinction between the personal and impersonal conceptions of the Absolute Truth. You must understand that there is an impersonal form of God also, which is Brahma Jyoti. But beyond that, there is the personal form of the Lord. And Krishna recommends we worship the personal form. Now, in the next 2-3 verses, we will see how actually worshipping the impersonal form is so difficult and worshipping the personal form is so easy. That Krishna mentions and that Prabhupada lays out in detail. Let's chant the second verse. So, to answer, now Krishna is answering Arjuna's question. Now you notice, even in Bhagavad Gita, though there is just, okay, tell me in Bhagavad Gita, how many people are speaking in these 700 verses? One is Krishna, Arjuna, Sanjay, Dhritarashtra. Very good, very nice. So, for Dhritarashtra, it is mentioned Dhritarashtra Uvacha, Sanjay Uvacha, Arjuna Uvacha, but it's not mentioned Shri Krishna Uvacha. What is mentioned? Why so? Why is Vyasdev doing that? Okay, he has 6 opulences in Bhagwan, but still you could have mentioned here as Krishna only. Why again and again? Yes.
He wants to establish the fact that it is not this any random person that's giving this knowledge to Arjuna. It is the Supreme Personality of God himself.
Okay. So he wants to again and again remind us कि जो ज्ञान मिल रहा है ये भगवान दे रहे हैं. For in here though it's only 4 people. In Bhagavatam there are many people who speak. But whenever Krishna or an incarnation of Krishna speaks, it's always Shri Bhagwan. If you're feeling sleepy, you can stand here. Or you can sit in Vajrasana. Anyone who's feeling sleepy, it's not your fault. We all feel sleepy, especially when such nice AC is there. But if you are feeling sleepy, since you're here, then you can stand on the side. It's not punishment. Or you can change your body posture, sit in Vajrasana, change your thing, or drink water, put water on your eyes, but be attentive. So, कभी कभी मेरे साथ भी होता है मैं पीछे आके खड़े रह जाता हूँ. तो anyone, please feel free to go and stand at the back rather than sleeping. So here it is Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Mano Ye Mam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Parayopetas Eme Yukta Tamamata. Someone can read?
The Supreme Personality of God has said, those who fix their minds on my personal form are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be the most perfect.
So, very simple answer Krishna is giving. Ki of these two, which one do I find better? Personal form and worships me with great faith. I consider to be most perfect. Most perfect is someone who worships Krishna as a devotee and has great faith in Krishna. Prabhupada writes in the purport, someone can read who's not read till now, maybe.
A pure devotee is constantly engaged. Sometimes he chant, sometimes he hears of reading book about Krishna or something. He cook prasad or goes to the marketplace to purchase something for Krishna or something he washes the temple or the dish, whatever he does. He does not let a single moment pass without devoting his activity to Krishna. Such action is a full
Samadhi. This is why it is easy to become a devotee versus an impersonalist. If you are an impersonalist, God has no form. Can you offer prasad? किसको ऑफर करेंगे? रख दिया ऐसे ही जो सब कुछ एक ही है. If you're an impersonalist, whose pastimes are you going to hear? Nothingness के pastimes, कुछ भी नहीं हुआ. आज का लेक्चर कुछ भी नहीं हुआ. Now you think, seriously think, why would people get attracted? There are people who get attracted to impersonalism.
Yes.
What makes people get attracted to impersonalism? Yes, Abhishek. Bro.
Frustrated with forms.
Frustrated with forms. Can you elaborate?
So what happens is because they don't have any knowledge about spiritual life and its variegatedness, all their interactions happen on the basis of senses only. And as a result of that, their mind is always occupied with either work and they have nothing higher than that. Then cessation of work becomes their topmost thing, that's an escape that they look for. And if somebody is trying to focus upon the impersonal aspect, which is very difficult to do, the form becomes one of the biggest challenge for them. Hence, all these impersonalists, they have their huts in the outskirts in Himalayas where women are not allowed. If somebody is married, enlightenment is knocked off, you can't get enlightenment. So it's basically boils down to frustration.
And why are they so because they are frustrated, they are getting appealed by this concept of no form. So basically, what is appealing to them? A scenario where there cannot be any frustration, and they are attributing frustration to individuality, right? So basically, they are frustrated with the people and with the situations that people have created, and therefore, जैसे now every day हमारे लाइफ में कुछ ना कुछ हो रहा है. So many things happening in our life. There's so much in our mind that if you are given a scenario where it's nothing, it becomes very pleasing. Nothing नहीं होगा तो प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगा, ये मेरा दुश्मन नहीं होगा, ये मेरा दोस्त जो अभी दुश्मन गद्दार है वो नहीं होगा. अगर गलती से कल रिजल्ट उल्टा आता तो सोचते यार क्रिकेट नहीं होता, तो पाकिस्तान नहीं जीतता. और अगर कड़की चल रही है तो कुछ होता ही नहीं तो डेट नहीं होता मुझे. बॉडी में बीमारी है तो बॉडी नहीं होता तो बीमारी नहीं होता. ऑल ऑफ यू आल्सो फाइंडिंग इट अट्रैक्टिव नाउ. Formlessness, it's nothing. It's all nothing. The problem with that, yeah, you want to add something else?
Yeah, I just want to add one more fact that whenever we talk about formlessness, the idea of me being God is also associated with it at times. And that also attracts people more than being a servant of God.
Fair enough. Because we have this tendency to lord it over everything. यार मैं भी भगवान हूँ यार, बस खाली ये फॉलो करूंगा बस हो गया. I'm also God. Versus I'm a servant of God. That is not very appealing to certain people. Therefore, Krishna says, Chatur Varna Maya, no, Chatur Vida Bhajate Mam Jana Sukritino Arjuna. He says, 4 kind of people will come to me provided they have some Sukriti, some spiritual credit. Because that is required to understand that ये formlessness, एक जगह पे ठीक है, but individuality of the soul will never go away. सोचो, चलो अभी you take a 1 week break, okay, and 1 week you are told you can just come here in Gada Hall, and there'll be nobody here, and there'll be nobody to disturb you, and you can just peacefully sit, and there'll be nothing. One day it may be nice. आज कोई आया नहीं मुझे परेशान करने को, किसी ने मुझे फ्रस्ट्रेट नहीं किया, कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं हुआ, आई वॉज जस्ट टू माई सेल्फ. Second day it may be appealing. Can you do it every day? No. If we can't do it every day now, how are we eternally going to be and do nothing? So that's the problem. That's the problem. And therefore, here in the purport, Prabhupada is saying that for a devotee who's a devotee of the Lord, there's so much engagement to dovetail the mind. Now you can read this and read it all of you read it again, and you identify इसमें से कितने चीजें हम करते हैं रोज. There are so many things. पढ़ो, उधर पढ़ो. Some of these things can be done anywhere. You can be commuting to college or to work and you can perform these things, some of them. And for some of them, you don't require any, excessive knowledge or excessive skills like cleaning the pots. But it's considered devotional service. So this is the beauty of devotional service. It is available anywhere and to anybody. Constantly you can be engaged in devotional service. For being an impersonalist, you need a perfect situation to sit like this and meditate. You can't do it in your Mumbai local. But you can put on earphones and listen to some spiritual lecture or to kirtan in the Mumbai local.
Yes.
Very nice, very easily you can do. कोई आया लोकल में, यार साइड दो, और बोले अरे और थोड़ा साइड दो, फिर ऐसे बैठ जाएगा, फिर ऐसे करेगा, फिर he's gonna smell the sweat of people. He's gonna smell the sweat, the stink of that gutter when the train goes between Bandra and Mahim. And then some guy will do something ऐसे करके डालेगा, वो जाएगा आपके नाक के अंदर. Can't do it. और उसमें भी अगर आप सब लोग चुप रहो, मेडिटेट कर रहा हूँ, 4 लोग आपको उठा के नेक्स्ट स्टेशन में फेंक देंगे. Can't do. So, of course, our devotees take it to an other extreme, where they think they can chant while doing anything. I have seen people, I have literally with my eyes, from when you enter the Eastern Express Highway to go towards Thane, on that left side, you see there is that service road. If you come, then वो service road पे usually people are jogging, cycling, वो सब करते हैं. I have seen a devotee jogging with sneakers and everything, and mala haath mein with bead bag, and he's chanting and he's jogging. Amazing soul for some reason, but I have seen devotees riding motorcycle and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama. There are devotees who come for our Saturday class who drive and chant. इतना डाटा कि आई थिंक अभी बंद हो गया है, पर ड्राइव है, तो उतना एक्सट्रीम पे मत लेके जाओ ये प्रिंसिपल को. बट in during all these things, while jogging or while riding a bike or something, you can listen to lecture, you can listen to kirtan. What will the impersonalists do at that time? Nothing. So the scope of practicing devotional service is so vast, and it's easier. Verses 3 and 4. ये तो अक्षरम अनिर्देश्यम अव्यक्तं पर्युपासते सर्वत्र गमचिन्त्यं च कूटस्थमचलं ध्रुवम् संयम्येन्द्रियग्रामं सर्वत्र समबुद्धया ते प्राप्नुवन्ति मामेव सर्वभूतहिते रताः. Someone read.
But those who devotion to unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of pervading the inconceivable, unchanging, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of absolute truth. By controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engage in the welfare of all, at last achieve.
So first he said devotee is perfect. Right? Now he's saying impersonalist अगर आप करोगे ना, end में you will understand. After practicing impersonalism for such a long time, after merging and coming back, one day you will understand that उसके भी आगे कुछ है. At last you will achieve me. And now all of us who are in the habit of that what 21 question का guide खरीद के exam के पहले पढ़ के clear करने का, some of you are laughing. तो ये method हमारे लिए नहीं है. At last, we want quick results. So this Prabhupada writes in the purport, for the common man, this method of impersonal realization is very difficult. Reasons we discussed right now. It's not very easy to sit like that and meditate on a formless thing. In this life, do we have any experience of a formless thing? Even air, which we can't see, we can perceive. Right? We can feel, we can see things moving, we feel the air, we can see the effect of the air. There is nothing that we cannot perceive. Everything is based on perception, right? Either direct or indirect perception. Now, the goal of your life is supposed to be something which cannot be perceived. So, it's so difficult. यहाँ पे हमको पता है, ये देखो राधा रास भी आ रही है, ये है सामने, ये देखो होली नेम है, आप जप कर सको, ये देखो गीता है, and उसके बाद also we have our difficulties and challenges. So you imagine for impersonalism it is so much more. In the next verse, Krishna summarizes this impersonalism and how difficult it is. क्लेशोधिकते क्लेशोधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम् देहवद्भिरवाप्यते. Someone read, not read till now.
For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, the personal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied.
So now because we are embodied means we have a form. We have a body, we have a form. So therefore we can perceive everything in a form. And so to perceive something that is formless is so much more difficult. In this purport, you must read this purport when you go home, verse 5. Please note it. Verse 5 का you should read all these purports. 20 श्लोक का चैप्टर है. 20 श्लोक आप purport के साथ आधे घंटे में आराम से पढ़ सकते हो. आज कोई क्रिकेट मैच इंडिया का तो नहीं है, तो घर जाने के बाद पढ़ना, आधा घंटा निकालना. कल हम लोग डिस्कस कर रहे थे, ये हॉल का नाम है गदा, GADA, गदा. गदा, one of the opulences, instruments of the Lord. So when we come in this hall and go out of this hall every week, we are supposed to become more stronger in our devotional life. The gada. If you add an H between G and A, what does it become? Gadha. GH, Gadha. A and D, Gadha. DHA, Gadha. Gadha means donkey. Donkey. किसको बोलते हैं? अरे ये तो गधा है. क्यों बोलते हैं ऐसे? Donkey क्या है? What is donkey a very intelligent animal? No. It's considered a dumb animal. इसीलिए dumb लोग कोई कुछ dumb हरकत कर दिया उसको बोलते हैं गधा. तो ना ये मैं क्यों बोल रहा हूँ आप लोग को? यहाँ आते हो, कुछ सीख के जाते हो, उसको अप्लाई करो. यहाँ कुछ सुनते हैं हम लोग, we hear something that we should do this for the benefit of our spiritual life. We should do it. Otherwise, we'll just come here every Sunday or whichever day our programs are, and we will just go out and again be like how the world is. Then it's like we are donkeys. So don't let Gada Hall make you Gadha, but become spiritually strong. So read, please read. You knew today, right? Chapter 12 ka discussion hai. It's announced. Topic is announced.
Yes.
How many of you read at least a few verses after seeing that today is chapter 12? Thank you for your honesty. Okay, one, Sunny. Thank you for your honesty at least. That you're honest. Next week, please read and come. Okay? Next week, chapter 12 is going to be continued. Please read and come. Because ultimately, it's for your own benefit. You're coming here to gain some benefit for your spiritual life and thereby be peaceful in your material life. That will happen if you read. So, this purport is very nice purport in which Prabhupada explains that it's not just that Krishna has a form, the form in the spiritual world, or the form when he comes as Krishna and does Leela, like he came 5000 years back. Krishna also accepts the form of the Archa Vigraha, the deity. Radha Rasbihari is in the form of a marble. But it's not just a statue. It's not just a statue like Gandhi ji ka statue hai, Ambedkar ka. It's not like that. What's the difference?
We have done Pran Pratishtha.
You do Pran Pratishtha. And by Pran Pratishtha, you are inviting Krishna. Please come and reside in this form. Prabhupada in the purport gives the analogy of a post box. अभी इतने पोस्ट बॉक्स दिखते नहीं है बट अभी आप सोचो कि पोस्ट ऑफिस now you have a letter now and you put a stamp now that letter if you go and give in the post box or to the post office what will happen it will go to the proper destination you just go and give in any shop will it have the same effect no Prabhupada says similarly you go and worship any statue और जस्ट ये भी टेबल भी भगवान से आया तो इसकी रोज मैं भोग इसको लगाऊंगा पूजा करूंगा इफेक्ट नहीं आएगा बट द ऑथोराइज्ड बोनाफाइड फॉर्म ऑफ द लॉर्ड जो शास्त्र ने बोला है एंड विच द लॉर्ड हैज कम इनटू दैट्स लाइक द पोस्ट ऑफिस इट्स द ऑथोराइज्ड फिर उसको आप प्रे करो उसको आप भोग लगाओ you will get the benefit and the result of it. So Prabhupada explains this and then just to summarize the difference between an impersonal approach and a personal approach. Now, this is the summary of these first 6 verses of this chapter. If you were inattentive till now, please pay attention now. Impersonalist means formless. Is it easy or difficult? Difficult for the why?
Then you can't comprehend
Something we can't comprehend because whatever we have seen and heard we can feel and we can see or at least we can perceive. This is personalist means it's easy because there is a form, there's a form, holy name, there's a sound, right? Holy name is not different from Krishna, sound is there, leelas are there, we can smaranam, we can do, we can think of these pastimes of the Lord, instructions are there spoken by the Lord. मायावादी लोग क्या बोलेंगे नथिंगनेस वाचा ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है नॉट पॉसिबल क्या इंस्ट्रक्शन सब कुछ एक है हम भगवान हैं नॉट पॉसिबल impersonalist unmanifested is beyond sense perception you cannot use your senses to do anything if you are an impersonalist because there is nothing किसको भोग लगाएंगे किसकी लीला सुनेंगे किसका कीर्तन सुनेंगे इट मेक्स नो सेंस whereas we read that part Prabhupada you can chant you can read you can hear you can wash the pots you can clean the temple so much you can do with your senses to be an impersonalist to be a mayavadi what you have to read Sanskrit Upanishad हम तो गीता भी नहीं पढ़ते हैं कहाँ से वो सब पढ़ेंगे सबसे छोटा चैप्टर है ये 12 चैप्टर पता था आज फिर भी नहीं पढ़ा हमने तो ऐसे ही हैं पास्ता खाने आते हैं I'm talking about myself not yours but imagine if you are told Upanishad का क्लास है ये For a devotee, what's the process? Every Sunday, what is hammered to us? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Seva, book distribution, enrollment. So easy to do these things, right? So easy. If a person is serious in their spiritual life, if they are serious about becoming a devotee, these things are so easy. So easy. These things can help us get less distracted and ultimately not distracted with things of the material world. So this boy who told me yesterday कि मैं बाहर जाता हूँ और ये सब thing. What can you do? You have to just become spiritually strong. Whenever you go out, put your earphones on. Listen to some lectures, listen to some kirtan. And वो क्या करो, डाउनलोड करके रखो. यूट्यूब पे सर्फ करने मत लो, कहीं और चले जाएंगे. कोई दूसरा वेव हमको हिट कर देगा, हम आउट हो जाएंगे. Dangerous. But like go to websites like escondesiretree.com. वहां पे whatever you find is all going to be Krishna conscious. गलती से कोई नया मूवी का ट्रेलर नहीं शुरू हो जाएगा. So go to that website. वहां पे श्रवण कीर्तन करो. So many kirtans are there, so many lectures are there. Like that, ask devotees that I have a couple of hours free in the week. You have some service for me? Come do service. In this way, the embodied, the body can be used in Krishna's service. It's so easy to become a devotee. Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is easy for the simple. And it's complicated for the people who are too complicated. It's so easy. One more thing is no relationship with the Lord for impersonalists. किसके साथ रिलेशन करेंगे? अभी हम जा रहे हैं वृंदावन. How many of you are coming to Vrindavan next month? Good. For others, we still have some room. We have some rooms in Vrindavan available if you wish to come. So don't miss this opportunity in Kartik, the month of Kartik. It is so special that whatever we do in Vrindavan, whatever spiritual activity we do in Vrindavan in Kartik is multiplied by 1000 times into 1000. अब कार्तिक में मुंबई में करोगे तो 1000 गुना बेनिफिट मिलता है. कार्तिक वृंदावन में करोगे 1000 into 1000. थैंक्स. उतने राउंड्स ये लाइफ में हम कभी चैंट नहीं कर पाएंगे अगर रोज 16 वाला करने वाले तो उसके लिए तो आओ वृंदावन. Get the benefit of chanting extra rounds in Vrindavan. Get the benefit of walking in Vrindavan. Walking in the playground of God. Our God has a playground. It's called Vrindavan. It's where Krishna enjoyed himself. Dwarka is the place where Krishna had to show proper example. Everything was regulated. Everything was proper. Vrindavan is the place where he enjoyed himself. चलो थोड़ा मजाक करते हैं. मार सकता था वैसे भी नहीं, फिर भी घुमा घुमा के फेंक के मारेंगे, मजा आएगा. वो त्रिणावर्ता को नीचे ही खत्म कर, नहीं हम जाएंगे ऊपर और ऊपर उसको मार के नीचे आएंगे एकदम टड़न टड़न एकदम स्टाइल में एंट्री मारेंगे. कृष्णा enjoyed himself in Vrindavan. Therefore, it's called the playground of God. And when we go there and we hear of Krishna's enjoyment, we get enjoyment. We get pleasure. That's when the soul is actually so blissful. That Satchit Ananda, that Ananda which is there in us comes out when we perform devotional activities. And just like we discussed, we need to be spiritually strong. So yatras are a wonderful way to get that booster dose. It's like a booster dose. And we all need that. Therefore, even if for 4 days, even if for 5 days, if not for the entire 10 days, you come for 4 days, 3 days, 5 days. But please come. Don't miss this opportunity. While we still have exalted people like Deen Bandhu Prabhu present, let us not miss this opportunity. So those of you who are not planning to come till now, please think about it. You can talk to our Abhishek Prabhu, you can talk to Nitai Jivan Prabhu, and they'll help you how to figure out how you can come. Devotees are expert in finding ways to get out. We have killed so many relatives in excuse. नानी ऑफ हो गई है, नानी ऑफ हो गई है. पर ऐसे कुछ बोलोगे बॉस को तो लिख के रखना किसको लास्ट टाइम ऑफ किया था. अगर बॉस बहुत इंटेलिजेंट है, उसने भी नोट कर दिया तो अरे कितनी नानी है तेरे पास. नानी को एक बार ही मारना, दादी दादी पे आना, कुछ ऐसे करना, कुछ ही बोलो, अपना बोल दो यार मेरा लिवर बहुत खराब है, कुछ डॉक्टर नेक्स्ट टाइम बोलना लिवर ठीक भी हो गया, कुछ लिवर का दवाई भी बता देना बॉस पूछेगा तो, बट कम, प्लीज कम, and therefore you can have a relationship with the Lord, strong relationship. A devotee can have a strong relationship. Impersonalist depends on our endeavor, how much you meditate, how much you do dhyan, how much you regulate your life, how much you don't enjoy and don't engage your senses in unnecessary things. जितना आप करोगे उतना benefit मिलेगा. Whereas a devotee, because there is Krishna also involved, then we are, along with our endeavor, we are also depending on Krishna's mercy. What's written here? Read loudly. Krishna said, no? Who's the most perfect? Second verse. One who's a devotee in unflinching faith in me. Most perfect. Krishna is saying this is the most perfect path. If we are engaged in this path, won't Krishna help? He'll help. Of course he'll help. If your professor tells you ऐसे ऐसे करो तो अच्छा रहेगा, आप ऐसे ऐसे करोगे, you'll go to him. हाँ तूने मेरा बात माना, I'll help you, I'll guide you. We are following Krishna's path. Nowhere in the Bhagavad Gita Krishna is saying meditate on formlessness, merge and become one. Nowhere. Right? So we get Krishna's help. And this last point is proved by Krishna in the next verse. And with that we will conclude today's session. The 6th and 7th verses where Krishna gives a promise. Now he's saying this is the topmost, most perfect is someone who has a devotee. Then he discussed how impersonalism is difficult, and now again he is giving a promise to devotees. Verses 6 and 7. ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्पराः नन्येनैव योगेन मां ध्यायन्त उपासते तेषां समुद्धर्ता मृत्यु संसार सागरात् भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ मय्यावेशित चेतसाम्. Krishna is saying, but those who worship me, giving up all their activities onto me and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pritha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Anyone who does this, worships me, offers everything to me, is devoted to me without getting deviated. एक संडे गधा हॉल, दूसरे संडे बाहर गधा, without deviation, regular. He's engaged in devotional service, performing service nicely, is thinking of me, mind is fixed. For him, I am the swift deliverer. I will take control. I will take charge of him. Basically, Krishna is saying, भक्ति करो, उसके बाद कुछ बच भी गया ना, I'll take care. I am giving you guarantee. I will take care. You do what I want you to do. These things. Rest, I will take care. He's not saying here, ये करो और अच्छे से मेहनत करो और दिल लगा के करो और परफेक्ट करो और फिर अगर मैं जज करूंगा तुमने परफेक्ट किया तो मैं तुमको साइकिल ऑफ बोथ से निकालूंगा. You do this, I will be the swift deliverer. Swift deliverer. पहले क्या बोला impersonalism के लिए? Long. At last they will come. At last. This is like swift deliver. Now T20 को भी लोग boring समझते हैं. They have started T10. Eventually they will understand कि cricket ही boring है. We started with 5 days, then we came to 100 overs, 50 over fifth match. Then we came to T20, T10, T1 करके वो गेम ही बोरिंग है. भक्ति करो उसी में आनंद है. Swift. People want swift. Huh? Sorry? Toss जीतो, match जीतो. So match of life जीतने के लिए here Krishna is saying swift deliverance. And he's saying I guarantee. I'm promising you. We have heard the story of Gajendra. Gajendra was very strong in the land, but in the water, crocodile was stronger because that was his natural habitat. And Gajendra is trying to fight using his own strength, trying his hard. He's thinking, "Arey yaar, I'm the king of elephants. Gajendra, king of elephants. And I'm supposed to be stronger than this. यार मेरा तो इसको हटाना तो बहुत easy होना चाहिए मेरे लिए." And that battle went on for 1000 years between the crocodile and Gajendra. And gradually, Gajendra's powers started to diminish. And then he remembered that, oh, in my previous life, I was a devotee of Krishna. And actually, Krishna is the Supreme Lord. And then in the water, he saw a lotus. So with his trunk, he picked it up, he raised it, and he said, "Oh, Supreme Lord, please help me. Please accept this. My life is going to be over soon. You please accept this lotus." And then it is described Vishnu came, and he came on Garuda. And he's thinking, Garuda, jaldi, faster. I have to go and deliver my devotee. उसने मुझे ऑफर किया है lotus at the end of his life. I have to go. And then Garuda cannot fly fast enough. And then Vishnu jumps off Garuda. And he's thinking, this is also not fast enough. So he sends his Sudarshan. So Vishnu हवा में है, Garuda हवा में है, और सुदर्शन ने आके गजेंद्र को डिलीवर किया by chopping off the head of the crocodile. Swift deliverance का example. Practical example of the promise. We also have the promise of Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, Krishna made a promise, I will not fight. Bhishma made a promise, I will make Krishna fight. And Krishna is thinking, who cares my promise? Let me be dubbed as Jutha. Let me be dubbed, but let this be told that when it comes to my devotee, then I am ready to be ridiculed, but I will always keep my devotee's word. Similarly, here he's saying, I'll be the swift deliverer. You do this, I will take care of it. And so Krishna is thinking, okay, no problem. Picked up the wheel and ran towards Bhishma Dev to protect the Pandavas. Because he knew, अगर मैं अपना वर्ड पे टिका रहूं, तो भीष्म भी अपने वर्ड पे टिके रहेगा और वो बहुत gruesome fighting करेगा. And then these Pandavas don't stand a chance in front of Bhishma. And so Krishna took the wheel and started running towards. Arjuna is petrified. Arey, what are you doing? अभी तो गीता पूरा बोला आपने. What are you doing? You're running. Please don't. And that painting is there. Arjuna is holding Krishna's legs and Krishna is charging with the wheel. And Bhishma Dev is looking at that, and that without even the wheel coming to Bhishma. Just by seeing Krishna running with the wheel, Bhishma dropped his weapons and looked at Krishna with a smile on his face and said, "My life is successful. Krishna broke his promise for me." That means Krishna considers me of some importance to him. Krishna values me. Krishna respects me. Krishna has some love for me. That means Krishna has accepted my devotional service throughout my life. My life is successful. Now, to hell with whatever else happens. I am ready to now give up my life. So, Krishna does these things for the devotees. For the devotees, he'll break his promise. For the devotees, he'll do all these things. And he gives these promises. That you just follow this, I guarantee I will be the swift deliverer of the cycle of birth and death. Material world created by Krishna, modes of nature created by Krishna, promise given by Krishna, solution given by Krishna. If we just follow, so easy. On top of that, Srila Prabhupada has made it even more easier for us by giving the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, by creating these temples, by having all these devotees, having a systematic approach to spiritual life, so much Shravan opportunity, so much Kirtan opportunity, so much Seva opportunity, so much engagement, so much motivation. At the end, this promise, like a full package is given. And in your youth, at this age of your life, just have to follow. Just have to follow. And then life is successful. Swift deliverance from the cycle of birth and death. Any questions? Yes.
Prabhu, you said that earlier that whenever we go to so-called government, we ask them to show the six appearances, right?
We ask them to show the Virat Roop. That's what Prabhupada writes that Arjuna wanted.
Right. No. Okay. But it has been mentioned before that six appearances only Krishna has,
Yeah.
and because that's why he's God.
Yeah.
But I also read somewhere that we also consider that Balaram he also has all these six opulences.
Yeah.
So why don't we consider him Godhead as well? We consider him Godhead, but we don't consider him as
Because he's come from Krishna. He's an expansion of Krishna. So there is somebody from whom he came. So then that person is the supreme. That's all. Any other question on anything we discussed today? Or on any other thing you have any question? It's all clear? Very nice. Someone can read this loudly?
The devotee does not desire any achievement other than pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His life's mission is to please Krishna, and he can sacrifice everything for Krishna's satisfaction. Just as Arjuna did in the battle of Kurukshetra, the process is very simple. One can devote himself in his occupation and engage at the same time in chanting Hare Krishna. Such transcendental chanting attracts the devotee to the personality of Godhead.
Now we should ask ourselves what sacrifice I need to make. Prabhupada is writing here, he can sacrifice everything for Krishna's satisfaction. Now Krishna was promising, I will be the swift deliverer for you if you become my devotee. Something we have to sacrifice. Now what we have to sacrifice, each and every one of us will have a different answer. For somebody it will be a bad habit. For somebody it will be a future plan. For somebody it will be some mental, pre decided plan that they have to sacrifice because it's not in line with devotional service. For each and every one, for someone it will be association, for someone it will be laziness, for someone it will be something else, but there has to be some sacrifice. Srila Prabhupada sacrificed so much comfort at his old age in Vrindavan. Prabhupada sacrificed to start this. We have so many examples of devotees, disciples of Prabhupada who sacrificed so much. You've all heard of Aindra Prabhu?
Yes.
You can listen to Aindra Prabhu's kirtans, they are very amazing. So in Vrindavan now we have 24-hour kirtan that was established by Aindra Prabhu. But it was not so easy for him to establish that. He had to sacrifice so much. Uh, Aindra Prabhu's complete health was destroyed because he was staying in Vrindavan and doing kirtan 18 hours a day. Imagine 18 hours a day you're singing. His vocal cords, everything was destroyed over a period of time. But he did it for Krishna. In Vrindavan's summer, American body, Vrindavan summer, the devotees say that Aindra Prabhu's body used to always be covered with, rashes and skin boils and things like that. Vrindavan winter, going on 18 hours a day, himself doing kirtan initially to begin. I have so many other examples. Srila Gopal Krishna Maharaj, he sacrificed. So Aindra Prabhu sacrificed comfort and took this austerity. Gopal Krishna Maharaj sacrificed a very high-paying job. He was the only son of his parents. So we are not some of us who are only sons and only children. We are not the only ones. There are many devotees in the past who have been only sons and only children. But Maharaj sacrificed a high-paying job, earning so much money, sacrificed everything, and joined Prabhupada's movement. So we have example of Giriraj Maharaj. He's here right now. Giriraj Maharaj's father was one of the richest people in America. And Giriraj Maharaj joined the temple. And his father came one day to see कि ऐसा क्या है यहाँ पे? I live in a mansion. My son has his own vehicle. He has unlimited pocket money. So many dollars I have given to him to enjoy. But he doesn't want to live that life. He sacrificed all that to come here. He came to see. And then he gave an ultimatum. He told Giriraj Maharaj, this is like when he was in his 20s, he told him, If you don't leave all this and come home, I am not telling leave all this. तू घर पे आके भक्ति कर. But if you don't do it, I will remove your name from the will. अगर हमारे पिताजी के पास कुछ है ही नहीं तो अगर ऐसे बोलेंगे तो कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. क्या क्या नहीं. But if your father is a multi-millionaire who has mansions and servants and cars and bank balance जिसमें zeros कितने हैं वो थोड़ा कॉमा कॉमा डाल के करना पड़ता है ये कितने हैं, and then he tells you that if you don't come back home, if you don't leave all this brahmachari giri and come back home, I'm going to remove you from the will. And Giriraj Maharaj says, please do whatever you want to do. I'm very happy here serving Prabhupada. I don't need anything. And he actually removed him from the will and sent that notice. And after that also he continued. Sacrifice. Sacrifice. We have unlimited examples. Prabhupada sending people to Pakistan. Disciple Brahmananda Prabhu, go to Pakistan and preach. वहाँ पे लोग थूक रहे हैं उसके ऊपर. वहाँ पे लोग लकड़ा लेके उसके पीछे भाग रहे हैं उसको मारने के लिए जान से. And he's preaching there. Why? प्रभुपाद ने बोला. क्यों? क्योंकि प्रभुपाद ने मुझे ऐसा दिया. Prabhupada has given me such a thing for which I can never repay him. So if he wants me to die also here, I'm ready to die for him. But I want to serve him. I don't want to say no to Prabhupada. Sacrificing. They sacrifice so much. And then all of them, Giriraj Maharaj, Gopal Krishna Maharaj are still here and may Krishna keep them here for a very long time. But Brahmananda Prabhu, Aindra Prabhu, so many countless examples. Krishna came as the swift deliverer. Brahmananda Prabhu was having breathing trouble. And the devotee said, कि चलो मथुरा लेके जाएंगे. He didn't even want to go to Mathura. He said, I'm not leaving Vrindavan. They forced him, no, you have to go. He was large bodied. So when the ambulance came to take him to Mathura, and then they thought, चलो मथुरा भी नहीं होगा, Delhi ले जाएंगे. Delhi में एम्स में लेके जाएंगे. He said, I don't want to go. And he was otherwise fine. Suddenly this problem came. I don't want to go. They forced him, all the devotees, for his own benefit. Chalo. Because he was so large, वो जो chair में बैठे थे वो उठ नहीं पा रहे थे उसमें. And that chair couldn't go out of the door. And so the ambulance, all these guys came, कि निकल नहीं रहा है, क्या कर सकते हैं? And at that time he just said, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna, and he left his body in Vrindavan. I have an example of a devotee called Gopi Parandhan Prabhu. He was a disciple of Prabhupada. And he used to preach in China. And he used to preach in Russia. And he used to stay in Govardhan. He had his Sanskrit Vidyalaya there. He used to teach Sanskrit based on the Shastras. So he went to Russia and he had a preaching program. And 2 days later, he had a preaching program in China. Ideally, you would go from Russia straight to China. And he said, no, I'll go to Vrindavan. 2 days ke liye, why you want to come? What you do? No, I want to come. And he came, and when he reached Vrindavan, in few hours he left his body in Vrindavan. Krishna, becoming the swift deliverer for people who've dedicated their lives. So if we want, ideally we all should be feeling this burning desire. I want to do something for Krishna in this life. I want to do something for Prabhupada in this life. I am getting so much. So I should ask this question to myself. मेरे को क्या sacrifice करना है? मुझे जायदाद sacrifice करना नहीं पड़ेगा शायद से. मुझे ये सब पाकिस्तान जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. मेरे level पे what do I have to sacrifice? Maybe I sacrifice Netflix. Maybe I sacrifice YouTube. Maybe I sacrifice some friend. Maybe I sacrifice some plan which is not conducive for my spiritual life. That I should do. Then Krishna will do his part. He'll be the swift deliverer. I should do my part. I was saying Arjuna sacrificed. Right? So, we have to do also. To conclude, Prabhupada says, it is explicitly stated that the devotees are very fortunate to be delivered very soon from material existence by the Lord. In pure devotional service, one comes to the realization that God is great and that the individual soul is subordinate to Him. His duty is to render service to the Lord, and if he does not, then he will render service to Srila Prabhupada ki. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे।
श्री नरोत्तम प्रभु की
जय।